So are you wondering how you can make passive income with Airbnb, with doing short-term rentals? That's what we're gonna talk about in this video. And by the way, hang in here because there might be a better way to do it than doing a lot of extra effort and pain and torture if you do it the wrong way. So be sure to tune in till the very end. All right, so how do you actually make passive income with short-term rentals? How do you do it with Airbnb? How do you make passive income with Airbnb? What's really the best way to do it? Like, how do we make sure that we can do it in a way that doesn't just create another job for us, and that can actually create even not just a job, but even losses, that we could actually lose money doing that very thing like some have already done? Be sure, because this video we're gonna start addressing how do we do it? How can you even do it with more leverage where you don't have to be the one always slaving away to be able to make that income? All right, so first and foremost, what's the best way to do that? How can you actually make sure you don't have to keep slaving away? Is hire a property management company, especially if you're just starting out and new in this game. You probably don't even know, how do I actually get an Airbnb to rent? I'll tell you, I've had so many friends and even clients that decided to get in this Airbnb game. And they think, oh, it's gonna be awesome. I listen to this influencer, this person, they teach at Airbnb, they sold me this course, and now I'm gonna make lots of money. And then what happens? They start doing it, and the money doesn't quite roll in because they don't know necessarily how to do the photos, how to do it right, how to actually look good, how do you make sure you actually get seen on Airbnb versus the other properties too? How do you stand out? How do you actually be profitable? How do you have the right connections and the right cleaners and all that kind of stuff? Sometimes the easiest thing to do, especially when you're starting out, is get a few training wheels on your bike. And those training wheels would be having a property management company, especially if that company already is a super host on Airbnb. So if somebody's a super host, why don't you leverage them? Get them to do a lot of that work. Get them to promote the property. Yes, they will take a nice cut. Sometimes they'll take at least 20, 25% of the money that you're making. But that ensures that your property gets booked, it gets good positive reviews. Then you know you can make great money with your property while again, you're a little bit more hands off. It actually becomes passive income. Because I'll tell you this, Airbnb is not that passive. It can be passive, but it's still actively managed. There's still going to be people responding and answering questions. And if you're not responsive, that affects your rating, and bad ratings just gets you unseen and you make less money anyways. You want top ratings, you want top quality, and the best way to do that, especially if you're starting out, is get somebody else to manage that property for you so that you don't screw it up. So I think that's a great strategy. Go less money, less hassle, makes it way easier. Now, you might also be looking like, okay, I could do Airbnb, but I don't know how to do it. I will tell you this, I definitely recommend people go and find good people to teach you that. I have a friend, Kyle Stanley, does a great job teaching about Airbnbs and short-term rentals and things of that nature. He even has a superhost company to do those kind of things. So great person to look up if you're ever looking up on YouTube for people that are quality and teaching this kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, like, Airbnb is a tough business. It's hard to stand out and be seen when, of course, you're the new kid on the block. So be sure that you've got the right help and you're doing the right things so you're walking with eyes wide open instead of being all doughy-eyed, and then all of a sudden you realize that you get your butt kicked and then you lose a lot of money, which I've watched people do, and it's not fun. Now, the other thing you do too is you could rent a room. You could just go, we can just go old school with this, right? We don't even have to go as official as Airbnb. This could be something you don't have to go buy another property. It could literally be something you can rent out a room in your own house. There are a lot of Airbnb rentals that literally just use a room or a basement or something like that, a separate apartment. If you got a mother-in-law, even better, because then at least they're not all in your space and stuff. But you do have the ability to be able to have that room or that section of your home to be rented out. Great way to start. It can be very personal. It's on site. So if there is issues, you can now kind of build up your status if you're going to become more the Airbnb type of active investor. A great way to kind of build up that credibility by just doing with your own home. This all depends. I mean, I know with myself, I'm more of a private person. I wouldn't want people in my own home. But again, for you, the income might be worth it. It might be worth to have that kind of income, that kind of potential there, and to build up your reputation on Airbnb so that when you do have other properties, now you've got something to go on, because now you're becoming like a super host, or you're becoming somebody that has a higher reputation on Airbnb or even VRBO, right? Whatever you're trying to use as that platform. Ooh, extra bonus tip for you guys. Did you know that you don't have to own a property? One strategy you can use, now this is a strategy again that I say with reservation, that's something you gotta have good education behind. This is something else Kyle Stanley teaches, is you can actually sublease the place that you get. So for example, let's just say you see like a for lease sign or there's apartments for rent. Maybe they're not renting out as quickly as they'd like. You might go to that apartment owner and say, listen, I see you have 3 units available. I'll rent all 3 units. I will be your best tenant because I'm gonna make sure this thing stays clean. It's gonna get cleaned every week, which you can't say for most of your tenants will do. I'm gonna make sure there's insurance on it and everything else. It's gonna be protected, and I wanna make sure it's a good quality place. And I'll take those 3 units, I'll rent them from you, but just so you know, I'm gonna sublease it. I'm gonna lease it to other people. Now you can do this one of 2 ways. You could either one, you could say, I'm just gonna lease it, you get guaranteed rent and you're happy, right? Or 2, especially if he's a little bit nervous, that landlord, he or she is nervous about it, you might even just say, well, here, I'll split some of the profits with you. So yeah, I'll pay you rent, I'll make sure the rent gets paid every month, but some of the extra money that I'm making, because I'm gonna charge a lot more than the rent that you're charging me for these short-term rentals, I'm gonna actually split some of those profits with you too. So you make even more on that rent, or maybe you negotiate a higher rent payment, or whatever it might be, right? You can split the profits, you can do all kinds of things. The great thing is, when you're telling that landlord, and I know this as being someone who owns properties myself, saying, hey, I wanna make sure this place is clean. We're even gonna clean the vents. We're gonna make sure that everything's up to speed and always looking nice in this place. And yes, we're gonna make sure we have like camera systems or whatever it might be to make sure we're watching the unit, make sure that there's no parties or anything crazy going on. I'll tell you, as someone who owns properties, someone who's willing to take that good of care and attention for a place, you don't get that with most renters, right? So anybody who's got even a half a brain would say, you know what, if you're actually really good and you live up to your word, I love this arrangement. This would be great for me. And that's a great thing you could do too, because now you don't have to put this big down payment on investment property. We have to put 20% down on a property, and then you got to rent, try to make money off of it. Now you're just got the rent payments. Now the clock's ticking, right? You still have to pay rent, so you got to make sure you got a little extra cash for that, have cash to furnish the place and everything else, and then of course start to get renters in so you can start paying for it. It might require some cash out of pocket, but can be a great strategy to use without you having to, again, buy properties. You could just literally rent properties, sublease them out by doing Airbnb rentals, short-term rentals through that method. So there's a nice little bonus for you. All right, what else can you do? You can actually partner with people on rentals. Even if you don't want to do Airbnbs, maybe you don't want to do short-term rentals, but maybe you want to be in the real estate game. You can partner with somebody else on rentals. Now, this could be, again, Airbnb, but we already talked about having somebody property manage it for you, somebody who's already a good host that can do that sort of thing. But maybe, what if you just got into real estate? Maybe the reason you're not getting into real estate is because you're afraid you have to deal with all this pain and hassle. Maybe you want to be a little bit more hands-off and more passive. Get a partner. And in fact, the great thing is if you've got cash, you can get a partner to do the work for you. You can let them do the work so that you can be hands-off. Because remember, you want to make passive income off Airbnb, but the truth is Airbnb is a business. It's not really passive at all. Yes, you can make some good leveraged money, right? Good kind of residual money, but you're still having to manage it and work for it. What if you get somebody else to work for you to be able to manage it in that way? Maybe they're not an Airbnb host. Maybe it's just somebody that you have in the family. Maybe it's a friend or something like that that needs a job and they can do good work. Ideally, you want somebody that has good work. Or it could be somebody that's already been in real estate and you just want to partner on a rental. Maybe you just say, you know what, I want to do a rental with you. It might be a short-term rental, it could be a mid-term rental, it could be a long-term rental. But now we start to go into the real estate game and I get to own the property, I get to hold it, we get appreciation and everything else, and you have that great partnership that works together. Again, it depends on what you need. If you don't have money, you probably need somebody who has money. If you have money, but you don't have time, get somebody who has the time where you can use your money. You can have that great partnership, that 1-2 connection that really works with you. And then the last thing, guys, is like I said, it doesn't have to be a house, right? You don't have to own a property. You don't have to own a home. Sometimes, you can, like I said, you can rent an apartment. Or you know what, if you don't want to do Airbnb, maybe you just want passive income in general, did you know that you can actually lend money to real estate investors to do all the work for you? You actually be very hands-off. You don't have to worry about the management. You don't have to worry about having the right people hired. Maybe that's the thing that just kind of scares you and keeps you from doing it in the first place. Well, then why don't you do something else? Why don't you look at something that you could actually be lending your money to other investors to do all the work? They deal with all the hassle. You get paid regular contractual streams of income. There's so many people in my network right now, they'll pay anywhere from like 9 or 10 or even 12% a year or more by just borrowing your money, by just saying, here, I'll use your money, I'll invest in deals, and I'll pay you back. Great ways to make good passive income, great income. I mean, think about this. If you had $100,000, that could become a down payment on a property, and that's something you have to manage, or you take $100,000, you lend it to somebody, they pay you, say, $800 or $1,000 a month on that money, and voila, now you're getting a regular streams of income by doing nothing. Now, every person's different. There's always risk. You can always lose your money, whether it's Airbnb, whether you're investing in Normal rentals, long-term rentals, doesn't matter if you're even lending your money out to other investors, there's always risk. You could always lose your money at some point. But the nice thing is that you can decide what kind of investor you want to be. Do I want to be more active, especially if I'm going to be doing Airbnbs? If I want to create passive income with Airbnb rentals, I could be more of an active investor. But if I lack the time to do something like that, I can either leverage a team or just leverage my money to make more passive income. All right, if you'd like to see more creative strategies or whatnot, go follow also our Money Ripples podcast channel here on YouTube. Subscribe and be able to check that out because there's lots of cool strategies, things that you may have even considered possible that you can actually find out right there. So go check out the Money Ripples podcast channel here on YouTube.